There's a few things you probably didn't know. One of them is you probably didn't know Black Widow and Bucky was a thing in the comic books. But then the other thing you didn't know is you have been lied to about comic book super soldiers. You've been led to believe that Spider-Man can lift only 10, 15, 20 tons. It's honestly not all your fault because it's not like Marvel did the best job when it comes to really breaking down what this class system means. They use the word ton like they're actually meaning their limit is a ton or they can lift around that amount of tons when you should take this with a grain of salt and assume this is a class 10, not ton level. Like there's beings like Spider-Man that's literally lifted tanks over his head, which weighs more than 10 tons. So I can see why this stuff would confuse you, but based on feats, they can do a lot more than what this class system says. You've been led to believe that the only super soldier tier that can lift 10 plus tons is John Walker when that's simply not the case. So long story short, Spider-Man can lift more than 10 tons. Super soldier tiers like Captain America can lift more than 2,000 pounds or 1,000 pounds. This is not the limit. Matter of fact, in this very scan, he's doing this for reps anyway. If you're a weightlifter, you know that nobody works out with their max. So if he's doing this for reps, you know it's not his max. Matter of fact, we literally seen Winter Soldier, aka Bucky, the guy I'm talking about in this video, getting a literal fight with this bear being without no gun. It doesn't seem like there's a ridiculously large strength gap based on this thing, and we see him actually get the W. A being like this is apparently in that, and I quote, they stated this bear being is apparently just ignore the word ton, the 15 class, the Siberian bear. Bucky's literally fighting beings as a bare minimum, beings that can bare minimally lift at least 15 tons. This probably isn't his max. You know how these class systems always say something's a character's max and it's really not their max. You know, bare minimally 15 tons. Bucky's fighting these kind of beings and winning against them. Doesn't this make you change your perspective on how strong super soldier tiers are in Marvel? I mean, you got characters like Deadpool that look like they can lift 10 or 15, 30 plus tons. You see this big old crap Deadpool's lifting, he's a super soldier tier. You see why you've been lied to about super soldiers? Yeah, John Walker isn't the only one. Oh boy. When the subject of Captain America comes up, it's often looked at that there was somebody always with him on his side. That being known as Bucky was by Captain America's side at all times, fighting alongside him. Kind of reminds me on some Batman and Robin type stuff, but just the Marvel version with Captain America being Batman and Bucky being Robin. But the difference being that they were military people for the government. When it comes to Bucky, he was known as the best type of brother in arms any soldier could have. He never hesitated, never faltered, and due to the nature of comics having a lot of different adventures, storylines, and etc., he's went through his fair share of story progression, evolution, even losing an arm, had to get a new arm. Matter of fact, that's probably what he's famous for. When you think of Winter Soldier, you think of this arm, making him superhuman, mechanical. It's even stated in his lore that this arm gives him a degree of superhuman strength. He's more famously known as the Winter Soldier, but he's, because of comics, I guess one could say, became his own version of Captain America for a little while with a very cool looking uniform that's a little bit different from Captain America. But you know how comics is. Moments like this never last long. One could say his gear is always changing. One gear that's usually not changing, though, is this arm, though, that's constantly getting improvements. I mean, when we're talking about progress, there's even points where he gets a brand new arm that's lighter but stronger and can do extra stuff. I wouldn't necessarily call this standard gear. I would actually call this arm a part of him because it's always on him. It's not like how we use a gun. It's not like something you can just disarm him, like his arm is always on him. I would say this is a part of his physiology at this point. It's a big part of his character. I guess one benefit about having this metal arm is that it's technically knife proof. I mean, it is metal, so I mean, technically he can use his arm to protect himself from bullets, I guess. On top of him already having decent gear though, like usually he wears body armor of some type, not just counting his arm. He wore a costume with bulletproof fabric. Like right here, you can clearly see he has the shield and the Captain America-ish type outfit. He has a special uniform that's bulletproof for situations like this. Yeah, this mask isn't just for show. It can map out places and stuff. But due to Bucky's nature, due to him being like a fighter, he can actually fight. He's highly skilled with both armed and unarmed combat. He's a proficient marksman. I mean, he has to be able to fight when he was working with the same people that trained Captain America. So it only makes sense. He's a really good natural fighter. Everybody remembers who Black Widow is, right? One of the best fighters in Marvel. It's revealed that he trained her even as a teen. He was the best sniper in his division. Look at all this intense training during World War II. Yeah, there's a reason why he was able to have his back so well, being his right hand. What more proof do you need is the fact that he can literally fight beings that studied multiple beings' fighting styles. Taskmaster is being debatably is one of the best fighters in Marvel. We've seen like Bucky literally box it out with this same being. That's literally one of the best fighters because he literally has copied some of the best fighters in Marvel. On top of the fact his arm pretty much makes him superhuman, you can also make an argument that this infinity formula might help that out too. They had to give it to him because Bucky was really injured here. It helped him heal when they injected Bucky. And Bucky, just like a lot of other characters, he's got his fair share of temporary powers. It's where a character gets ridiculously overpowered for 2 seconds and then gets weakened again. It's where Bucky basically did the fusion technique with gamma radiation and became hooked up beyond belief. But of course, this kind of stuff doesn't stick around. I mean, he doesn't need this to be a threat in his own way. Let's get into him. Do me a favor and you try to lift a man over your head with one arm like this. Trust me, these characters in comics make this kind of stuff look easy. This is way tougher than you think. Bucky, during the time as Captain America, was strong enough to do this with muscle. In this particular situation, you see him literally bust through handcuffs, even breaks metal chain. This kind of stuff happens more than once. I got a question for you. When it comes to muscle, what do you think would happen if Captain America and the Winter Soldier got in an arm wrestle? I'm pretty sure it would probably be a close arm wrestle. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to say they're somewhere in each other's ballpark when it comes to raw lifting power or muscle or strength, blah, blah, blah. Because there's like literally too many occasions of Bucky literally boxing it out with Captain America S-type beings like this Burnside Captain America got somebody that's literally a big fan of the main Captain America. The reason why I'm saying it is because Bucky's literally boxing it out with somebody that's apparently stronger than Steve Rogers Captain America ever was, apparently. Even if you want to say this kind of stuff is an exaggeration, they gotta be at least comparable to Captain America, right? So this brings me to the question, what do you think the max Captain America can lift? You should kind of assume that would apply for Bucky too. Super soldiers can rep 1,100 pounds for reps, aka not their max. This could be 2,000 pounds considering if this is like this on each side. Yes, this particular scan isn't Bucky, but yeah, like I said, he's somewhere in the range of Captain America super soldier tiers. Super soldier tiers have the literal muscle to pull helicopters down, so. And even hold up what looks like 10 plus, 20 plus tons, like there was this falling building that was collapsing. Captain America was able to hold up this stuff with his energy shield. Yeah, sure, the shield was helping, but yeah, Captain America's legs had to be able to support this. No, John Walker is not the only super soldier tier that can press 10 plus tons, guys. They stated this like this was like an anomaly when we actually visually seen other super soldier tiers like Deadpool lifts up junk like this. You seriously think this is only 1 ton, guys? This is what Deadpool is lifting. Yeah, John Walker isn't the only one that can lift 10 plus tons, guys. This bomb might even weigh more than this. You see what I mean? This is what Deadpool did. Do you think it's fair to say that Bucky can lift 10 plus tons? Comparing him to the super soldiers? I mean, just look at the different comics. When you see him strike, you can kind of get an idea of his strength. When you see him punch like helmets and stuff, the weight of his hits can crack these. He can actually punch through an actual zombie. The weight of his punches do this, smashes control panels. You believe he's Captain America tier? Yeah, I mean, look at these robots. He's literally ripping in it with his arm, punching into these robots and ripping out their wiring. Even without relying on his arm, you see the weight of his kicks. Even before the arm, as a teenager, we see him kind of launch somebody kind of sort of in the air with the weight of his hit. Because look how they fly backwards. Poor crossbones. Like, he probably has to hold back some of the weight of his hits because he might kill you because he can knock you out this easily. Doing this to Sharon Carter, we actually seen him rip through the bottom of a flying car with his arm. I mean, look at the weight of his hits here when he was Captain America, gashing it. I mean, we've technically seen him and Steve muscles clash here, for example. So a lot of the same stuff Steve can do, Bucky should be somewhere in that range of power. There's literal bare beings that can bare minimum, like I don't really take these as their max, but like at bare minimum, we know he can lift 15 tons, this brown bear being mutant. I mean, how do you explain the fact that Winter Soldier's literally wrestling with a literal bear mutant being, grappling him, punching him? I think if there was a large strength gap, this fight wouldn't go as well. Well, I guess you could say part of this is Bucky's fighting skill, but yo, Bucky did this to a literal being that can lift 10 tons. I know Spider-Man can lift more than 15 tons. Don't take the ton part serious, just take the class part serious. Like, yeah, the ton thing, yeah, a lot of contradictory stuff with the ton thing, but yeah, bare minimally, these beings can lift 15 tons. Bucky just beat up this being. A being that a bare minimally has the durability of a Siberian bear. It's pretty clear cut that super soldier tiers can lift 10 plus tons bare minimally, possibly even up to 15 tons or even more maybe, based on the visual feats we see, what they say in the handbook, what we've seen Bucky literally scuffle with a literal bear that can apparently lift bare minimally at least 15 tons. You see why I'm saying John Walker isn't the only super soldier that can press 10 tons? You see what I mean? I mean, we've technically even seen him go up against Spider-Man tiers, like literally Spider-Man Miles Morales. This is somebody I wouldn't say he's on the same tier when it comes to muscle, but he's skilled and strong enough to do this to him at least. Matter of fact, Bucky could have been feeling himself. He apparently believes he could have killed a Spider-Man tier in an instant. he believes he can kill him in an instant. He quote unquote says he won't kill him even though he thinks he can. Saying Bucky can punch with at least 10 tons of raw force, I don't see no reason why he wouldn't be able to do something like that, honestly. I mean, if you don't believe this, if we add on the fact that Bucky has used the shield, if we're being honest, I'm not trying to get too technical, but stuff like this actually takes more than 10 tons of force. Like a blunt shield being thrown through a freaking tank like this with one throw, and Bucky's in this guy's strength league, these two's muscles have entangled. If we add on the shield into the equation, I guess you can argue the fact that if we give a super soldier tier indestructible metal like vibranium, I guess this would technically make their striking power too overpowered. I guess you can say this applies to Bucky Captain America with a shield. He could do similar to Captain America doing this, because Bucky, just in case you didn't know, he can actually use the Captain America shield via skills. We've seen him stun beams with shield throws, not to mention the fact he can boomerang this shield like Captain America does while shooting. Yeah, if he threw this shield hard enough based on like the size of this mech compared to normal beings, for example, I'm about 100% sure he could throw this shield and it would just split. Similar to this tank here, he can literally just split a house down the middle or just throw the shield through the house and it would keep on going. Yeah, this shield in his hands is scary. I mean, look how he's going through life model decoys, LMDs with the shield, throwing power. The shield's power depends on the user of the shield on how hard they can throw it. Like it's even talked about that Captain America tiers usually can't do no damage to Hulks, usually when they have a shield, because they don't have enough force behind it. But the shield in the right hand can actually penetrate beings' skin, Planet Buster being skin. Like I'm talking about, yeah, it can embed Hulk's skin. But yeah, of course, I'm not saying Captain America tiers can do this, but this lets you know why the shield is so overpowered. For example, Dormammu is somebody I would consider a cosmic being. Like there's this being that was amped, like this being known as the Hood was amped by Dormammu. Dormammu amped being, we see him, Captain America, Bucky with a shield throw, be able to move him with his head. They're all teaming up on him, but this is something noticeable to look at. Yeah, with the shield, you can argue he can hit with over hundreds of tons of force, honestly. But like I said, the shield can only do so much depending on who's holding it, like the Hulk said. So for him to be able to throw it through a tank, or Captain America tiers to be able to throw it through tanks, that just says a lot about their physical strength or striking power. I mean, he's constantly boxing it up some of the best super soldier tiers like Daredevil. This is a skill, power, and everything feat. A punch coming at you at 2 miles per hour is different than a punch coming at you at 120 miles per hour. The more speed behind your punch, the more power is behind it. That could be part of the reason. These characters have combat speed more than you would believe. Daredevil is one of those super soldiers that have some of the most impressive combat speed reflex type feats I've ever seen. Bucky, Winter Soldier, has to keep up with this being in combat consistently panel for panel. Daredevil is somebody that can react in 1/1,000,000th of a second, microsecond. Like we've literally seen him get shot up close like this and block it with his arm. Notice all these people, he's blocking it. When he's Captain America, they're having a hard time shooting him. He throws his shield to intercept a sniper bullet. You can actually see the RPG mid-flight. He's able to intercept and get in the way of it with his shield when he's Captain America. Choppers can't hit him. People try to say this kind of stuff is aim dodging. Is it though? When you literally see the thing shooting and his shield is already not up, like the shield is not in front of him, but after it's fired, his shield is in front of his face. He had to move his shield that quick. He's disarmed beings before they had a chance to shoot. We've seen him dodge arrows mid-flight, fast enough to slice. Hawkeye's arrow mid-flight with his knife. They're implying he can dodge electric type of attacks. This would prove he would have to at least have lightning-ish combat speed or reflexes. He's out here dodging attacks from Gamora. Notice how Gamora is the type of being that's consistently reacting, deflecting, or dodging lasers or light beams. Like even from Spectral, somebody that can literally turn in a light, she can deflect attacks from these beings. Thanos is always fighting faster than the speed of light type beings. Thanos said he couldn't lay a glove on Gamora. Gamora is a being that can move so fast to where she's basically invisible. That's why Bucky doing this is impressive, considering how consistently fast she is. Somebody like Gamora is way faster than the speed of light. So when you see characters that Bucky is fighting, like Daredevil, have statements of them being able to react in 1/1,000,000th of a second, don't you start to believe it now when you see the stuff they can do? The people they can compete with in speed. Daredevil being one of the fastest super soldier tiers, and Bucky can keep up with this kind of being. He's out here reacting to light speed beings. It's the same with characters like Hawkeye, who are ridiculously fast, faster than they should be. He can have sparring sessions with these beings. I mean, Hawkeye's the same guy that can catch an arrow thrown at him while blind. We've seen him have training sessions with literal super soldiers like Captain America, so yeah, Hawkeye ain't normal. Yeah, it's hard to believe that super soldier tiers can react to stuff way faster than the speed of sound and even faster than lightning, dang near approaching light speed type stuff. I guess that can give you some understanding on why they can punch so hard, Bucky included. it. I mean, via upgrades and progress over the years, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but yeah, his arm can do extra stuff. It's packed with a whole bunch of goodies, they say. Like the arm is actually linked to the gun, so you can kind of say the gun is standard gear. His arm will reload the gun for him. Yeah. It also has a retractable punch dagger for close combat, for piercing damage when he can already punch this hard, and fire. And it's made to where it can be upgraded for the future because every part is detachable, replaceable. So the longer the comics go on, he probably will have more to his arsenal than what we've already seen in this video. Arm can emit electricity apparently. Since this arm is a part of his body, you could say he, like, basically his physiology has electricity manipulation, basically. An electromagnetic pulse in this particular situation with Iron Man, his arm can move around even while not being attached to himself. Like you see it punching everybody. The arm is literally beating people up. Not counting his arm, just his arm and stuff. You got to remember that Bucky lives in a universe where there's a whole bunch of beings that are heavier hitters than himself, cosmic-ish type beings that are literal living planets and crap. So there's a lot of powerful foes. So you know that human super soldier tier characters have to kind of make up for this lack of raw power they might have to face off against such threats, depending on the story and how it arises. Bucky would get, I would call it, temporary powered up gear. This is gear I would say he doesn't necessarily have every single comic issue, but certain times in comics he gets crazy gear. It's kind of like this situation. We all know if the Hulk and Black Panther was to get in the arm wrestle, we know the Hulk's muscles are leagues upon leagues stronger than Black Panther's, but the muscle doesn't really matter when Black Panther has gear that can literally pierce powerhouses like Hulk and fatally wound them. Yes, there's overpowered metal in Marvel to where a character's muscle doesn't even matter against the person he's striking. It can still make them bleed. This is kind of a situation for Bucky on certain situations. Some of his guns are so dangerous, he decided to put some sensors on it to where if you use it and you're not him, the gun itself will explode. This guy got missile launchers that can mess up Crimson Dynamo, Frost Giant damaging gun, the fact that he has weapons that can sting members of the Wrecking Crew. It lets you know in these particular situations he has some out of the ordinarily strong gear. And I'm talking about these are just handguns, guys. Even gods like Ares say impressive. Stuff like this imply that the power of these guns or handguns are way worse than just normal old bullets. Like the literal living laser he shoots, and he can actually hit and affect them, proving that these guns ain't normal. AKA he can counter hacks because he's made out of light. You can't kill me with a bullet, he says. I guess it also helps he has sleeping gas in his arsenal. Miraculously, he can affect Red Hulk tears with his gun. This gun can damage beings or sting beings that can withstand planets exploding in their faces and crap. What kind of gun is this? See, there was a time where he got like all the access to Nick Fury's gear. You know how Nick Fury got to always defend himself against crazy threats and stuff. So you know he's paranoid getting strong gear and stuff. See, it's even talked about on this page right here, for example. Once upon a time, Nick Fury's secret satellite station. Now it belongs to Bucky Barnes. This was like an inheritance and stuff, a responsibility. He was like an intergalactic assassin, not for hire or whatever. The reason why he needed all this overpowered gear is because they had to keep the Earth safe by murking people, not just people, planets, gods, whatever comes at us. So all the gear that you would need to take on planet beings that are a threat to the planet and deities, this place has. That's why Bucky's gear was so crazy during this time. I'm talking about vibranium. Like there was gear that was known as the Khazar sniper rifle, the only one in the galaxy, stolen 3 weeks ago by the Winter Soldier. This bullet is made of vibranium, the same stuff Black Panther be using. I guess technically he had weapons or gear that can actually harm Hulk tears thanks to vibranium being busted. Planet killing gear. It's talked about a world, a dead world, a world surrounded by bullets, a world shot full of holes, literally. You can almost look at it like anything Nick Fury can do. Up to this point, you can argue that Winter Soldier can do similar because of a lot of prep time, him being paranoid, him collecting a whole bunch of crazy powerful weapons over the years and storing them up for himself. Like he literally has gamma bomb designs to put a hole even in somebody as strong as Thor. So I look at it, if Nick Fury can do this with his weapons or harm beings this powerful or gods or planets themselves, this same kind of power should apply for Bucky because he literally got his gear. Like what the heck is powering up these guns, Fury? This man literally has sun-shattering type of guns and gear. Fury's weapons do this to Hulk tears, which Bucky should own technically. I mean, just think about it. Weapons that can apparently take out beings like base Thor. Thor-centric type beings can withstand being in the epicenter of impacts that are so mighty that it's compared to the freaking Big Bang itself and stuff. Thor tier beings can withstand being in the middle of something that can simultaneously erupt across all planes of reality. And these guns can apparently hurt beings like Thor in the Marvel Universe. Yeah, guns that can damage beings that can withstand universe destruction is crazy. And I guess technically a teleportation device he has. Do you respect Bucky? Because even without these weapons, let's all agree he can hit ridiculously hard, but probably because of a combination of a lot of things. He can swing his stuff really fast. He can punch really fast. His super strength helps him punch harder, blah, blah, blah. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for the donations, y'all. Bucky's a beast. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.